Yo, what's good, Joe? Shaman the Bigga P, and here to talk about fights from last night. First, I'll start off with the PBC card that was on the NBC Sports Network. This card did not get as much as attention as it probably should have. Probably overshadowed by the HBO card and the fact that they actually aired it like an hour before the HBO card start. But it was surprisingly very highly entertaining. The first fight was, I think it was a Barra who I'd never seen before, but I saw his record as like 15-1 on BoxRec, and then versus Walter Castillo, who I saw on another fight before earlier this year, actually against Amir Imam, where although it was a spirited effort, I mean, although it was a very spirited effort, Imam, pretty much impressed and showed us, showed a pretty much a very diversified arsenal, to win that fight. So I was I was thinking to myself, with that type of clash, I was thinking at least Castillo would definitely come to the fight, and he really did. I mean, for the first couple of rounds, he looked good. As the Barrow, I guess, was a bit of a slow start. But after I think like the third or fourth round, I think when Castillo started to tire for whatever reason, it was just strictly all Barrow, who I think pretty much put on a clear whooping. Like and pretty much, I had it in my mind that he was actually going to stand and actually trade with him. But, he showed incredible movement going in and out, and showed a nice uppercut, showed a nice right hand. I mean, he busted the guy up pretty good. I mean, his eye was busted, his mouth was busted. Castillo had the fight literally beaten out of him. Although he didn't stop trying, although he stepped up in the later rounds, tried to actually do it, but it was as clear as day. And I was just waiting, I was waiting, like, okay, because the doctor go in that corner like several times in that fight, and I'm thinking to myself, man, they should probably just pull him out. So he goes the distance. So I'm expecting to see, okay, Castillo's about to get himself another clear loss because I had a clear win for Ibarra. Instead, it's a majority draw. I mean, how two judges can actually see that fight 114 is beyond me. Um, Castillo was beaten senselessly. I mean, Castillo was beaten pretty senselessly and pretty thoroughly. For me, there was no question in my mind that he lost that fight. And I felt for Ibarra because it was a bullshit decision. It was a bullshit decision. And I'll even probably, I'll try. Maybe I'll probably go back a little later before football, and I'll try to watch that fight and try to see what I'm seeing that that judges would actually call that fight even. But judging from the first glance, Ibarra won that fight, and he won that fight handily. Um, and then the next fight was Bizier versus Lawson. This fight unfortunately coincided, with the HBO card starting, so I didn't go. So I was flipping back and forth. I didn't set up I didn't have my tablet out there to actually to use the Fios app on there because I didn't think it would be. I didn't think I would need to. But flipping back and forth, from what I caught from the Bizier Lawson fight was Lawson pretty much got beaten up. Bizier, he controlled the fight from one. He came to fight. He offensively. I've seen him fight before, but offensively, he seemed like he was on point, and he just beat Lawson. From the time that I saw, he just beat Lawson up. He dropped him there was a standing 8. And then eventually Lawson didn't come out in his corner because he complained of his jaw. So I was impressed by his ear because the one question in my mind when I was watching him fight and do what he was doing, I was like, how did this guy lose to JoJo Dan? It's the $1 million question. um, but Bizier, of course, put himself. Because I think that was an eliminator, so he put himself now in the mix of trying to get himself another title shot. And I do have that fight actually downloaded, so I probably at some point, maybe probably later on tonight, or maybe during the gap between the afternoon game and then the Sunday night game when my Eagles are playing, I'll try to catch that game again. catch that fight again. But overall, that was actually a pretty solid card. It was a lot exciting. To me, I think the fight quality was a lot better than the HBO card, which I'll talk about. The first one was Vasily Lomachenko making again was his third defense of that WBO title he has, featherweight title, against Kosica. I think that's how they were pronouncing it. Um, it was nothing more than just a glorified sparring match. I mean, there was nothing in there. I mean, Lomachenko was, the footwork, the spins, the fast stance, the combinations. I mean, pretty much all that was on there because all that was on display against a very, very overmatched opponent. I mean, the only thing that I took away from that fight was there was a little bit more arm punching than that I would have liked, and Lomachenko was not really sitting on his punches all that much. I can attribute that to either style or previous hand issues as he's had before. But it took, but I mean, it was to the point where I was just either thinking like, hey, the referee needs to either stop this, or Kosica's corner needs to just pull him out. But Lomachenko manages to, I mean, then I think it was the ninth round, when manages to, go to the body and then put him out that way. So, I mean, he did what he had to do. I mean, like I said, it was just nothing more than it was a sparring exhibition. Hopefully, this will actually go a long way for him to actually fight someone more a live body in his actual division. As I know, in times there have been, names like, he wants to go after Salido again, or Rigo, or Gary, or Gary again, because Gary holds a belt in that division. Selby, somebody of notoriety in that division. Um, so yeah, that's basically like my thoughts on that fight. I mean, like I said, I mean it was, I mean that's all I was wish for. I was just watching this fight. It's like, man, this guy should probably face somebody better. I mean, yes, he's a talented guy. He's a talented fighter, but enough is enough with the the soft touches. And then we had the main event, Timothy Bradley versus Brandon Rios. Now, this fight had this notoriety based off the fact this would be the first fight Bradley would have without Joe Diaz in his corner. As most people know in the boxing world, they had a very public fallout following the Vargas fight. And when Bradley picked Teddy Atlas, most people were thinking, how would Teddy's personality gel with someone like Timothy Bradley, especially so late in his career? What can he actually do to actually bring the game of Timothy Bradley to a different level than it had been for the last decade or so that he had been with Diaz? And with Rios is coming off earlier this year. I mean, I think this is almost forgotten, like where he won the trilogy by knocking out pretty much a less than in perfect condition Mike Alvarado. So it's more or less to see what was going to have left. There was a little bit of I know in the beginning there was a little bit of issues in the beginning where in the weigh-in, whereas Bradley made his way comfortably, Rios was overweight by 0.2 pounds, which is really nothing. He can lose 0.2 pounds in 2 hours, which he did. So, and I know there was another thing. So, it's the fight for the title. Is it not for the title? And it turned out it was for the title. Now, I thought, okay, maybe Rios actually, really, he really settled down and actually trained hard for this fight. Because, I mean, usually there's always something. I mean, 0.2, like I said, I was willing to look the other way only if it was to the case that Rios was actually coming to the fight. And then they announced his pre-fight weight as 170. 170 pounds. The man gained 23 pounds in 24 hours. That's insane to me. Whereas Bradley, I think, went up to only 155, which is all right. I mean, it's within 10 pounds. That's fine. But when you're blowing up and you have to, and this is even more mind blowing considering the fact that Rios, I mean, the guy is a former lightweight champion of the world. The guy used to fight at 135. and he's coming into the ring for a welterweight fight at 170 pounds. So that pretty much tells me that Rios was just training to lose weight, not necessarily to be in the best condition he can actually be. And I thought, okay, and I was disappointed. So I mean, functionally, he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight for the welterweight championship of the world as a light heavyweight. Functionally, as a light heavyweight, blowing past God knows like 3 divisions of So it was so yeah, I was not happy to hear or even see that. 'Cause, I mean, the guy looked terrible. But what I thought, more than anything, I mentioned on a forum that I post on, that the only way I could see Bradley winning this fight is if he goes to the body, because the only time Rios has actually been down in his career is not by headshots, but it's by body shots, 2 body shot knockdowns. And I guess Teddy and Timmy knew the score. I can't front. I mean, I'm not a Bradley fan at all, but Bradley looked pretty good. Pretty much he knew what the score was, and his combinations looked a little bit more sharper. None of the arm flailing. His punches actually looked like he was punching with some conviction. He went to the body. He went to the body a lot. But still, I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe Rios will actually be able to do some work on the inside. Did no work on the inside. Barely did. Although he come with maybe a couple shots. But it was like almost like next to nothing. And then he gassed pretty much by the end of the 3rd round. So it was just more or less. I mean, Rios had one good round. I think it was the 2nd round. That's the only good round he had in the fight. And then after the 3rd round, he gassed. And then Bradley just pretty much picked up, outworked him, went to the body, threw combinations to the head, clinched when he need to. Rios had no answers. I mean, you saw Garcia in the corner, like asking him, like, you're winning, you're losing, you gotta step it up. And Brandon tried, but it was just his condition was just shit. It was terrible. And then something else happened that I didn't think I would ever see. In round 9, Bradley actually dropping Rios to the with body shots, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm over there sipping on my Hennessy Pure White, and I'm like thinking like, did I drink too much of this stuff? Am I really seeing Timothy Bradley just dropping Brandon Rios? So okay, this is body shots. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this Rios is gonna get up and he's gonna fight back hard. And instead, what happened was Bradley again went to the body, just tore up his body again, and down he went, and the referee stopped the fight. And I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy right now. Timothy Bradley just stopped Brandon Rios. I mean, that's absolutely insane. What I just saw, and he was complaining, he was hurting. And I'm thinking to myself, this is some shit right now. This is some absolute shit right now. This is mind blowing to me. And then later on in the post fight interviews, Rios got on the mic. He's and this is where people say it's a speech impediment, but he's talking off one side of his mouth again, and he sounded punchy. He was like, I knew, and pretty much he announced his retirement right there and then. And Bradley and Teddy, they did what they had to do, and Teddy especially brought his special brand of Teddy behavior onto premium channels. Where his motivational speeches in between rounds was pretty hilarious. If you ever get a chance to actually see it on YouTube or whatever, or on a Vine somewhere, it's hilarious. But hey, Timmy listened and was like, let's go ahead and do this. He said okay. So, like I said, Bradley got himself his first knockout since he KO'd a faded, Casamayor. Was it 4 years ago? And I remember too, it was the same thing with just body shots. Same thing, wasn't a punch to the head or a jaw or whatever. So Bradley goes on and hopefully faces someone Now, I mean, with Bradley, if there's somebody that I wish was a little bit more forward in facing somebody, um, facing someone more, facing someone with more notoriety at 147, should be him. Um, I wish he was more forward to face because I mean, right now, I mean, the HBO 147ers, 170, 147 um, boxers on this side. I mean, you have they're banding around like Pac or, God forbid, facing Canelo, which I'm not a fan of. I don't want to see that fight, not at all. I have no interest in seeing that fight. Um, you have fight, and then you have probably the eliminates, and then maybe maybe even Cal Brook, who as far as I know isn't tied to either HBO or Heyman. Um, but if it's one of those, but pretty much the best fights for Timothy Bradley right now are probably with Heyman, and hopefully maybe he can be like a little bit forward and add like try to get a fight with one because I mean those are the only 140 welterweights he has not really faced that, and that's where some of the other names are. Um, but we'll see. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's clear that Teddy and Timmy have some chemistry in the corner, and that's always important. I mean, the odd man out is Joe Diaz now, who's now pretty much had his name slandered in the media, and then this happens. So, like I said, you feel for that situation. You hate to see that situation where someone who was instrumental in his success, you know, not getting his just due as he actually should. But like I said, it's a new day, so we'll see how it goes with them. As for Brandon Rios, I feel like I said, I mean, pretty much the man he's done. I mean, it's sad when you look back in his career. I mean, the guy was a beast in the lightweight division. He was a very competent boxer puncher. He had a jab, he hurt. He had pressure, the infighting. All that deteriorated over within a span of 3-4 years, man. It's like 4 years, even like pretty much 4 years from what he is into that now. What the Brandon Rios that was in the ring last night was not Brandon Rios. It was just a badly faded, out of shape Brandon Rios. And this is the one thing about the Garcia camp I've never been a fan of. The fighters in this camp, with the exception of maybe Margarito, have just been have never been in any type, have had these condition issues. They blow up in weight all the damn time. He's had some talented fighters boxing wise, but the discipline levels, the discipline issues for them are outstanding. And you hate to see someone who fought as a lightweight, coming into a welterweight championship fight as a light heavyweight. It's disgusting. I mean, 10, 11 months out since your last fight. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you're a boxer. Your job is to stay in shape unless you're retired or coming off an injury or whatever. So it was like, I noticed you try to say, oh, you're not getting the fight. So even if you're not fighting, you gotta stay in shape. I mean, there are other fighters out there who have had longer periods of inactivity. Like let's say someone like Ward or Rigo even. But I'm pretty sure come fight night, I mean, they may be real rusty, they're rusty, but at least they're in shape. They're not coming in there, just barely making weight and then blowing up over 3 divisions within 24 hours. So, I hope that this truly is the end of Rios, and then Brand, takes his money and, and tries to lives a pretty regular life, and, he can eat all he wants. Not have to worry about making weight. Because like I said, if all you can do in boxing right now is take punishment, which he had been doing pretty regularly, then then it's just time for you to move on. So I do think he does have some fights. Well, commercial wise, he has a couple fights on the table. I mean, you can always sell Rios Provatnikov or Rios Ortiz, but I don't think those fights would do him any good physically. So, like I said, hopefully he does stick to his retirement. Goes off and enjoys the rest of his life. So yeah, that's about it. Um, those are my thoughts on the HBO card and then the PBC card. So until next time, peace.